Every business has to identify the customers that they talk to and how to talk to each of their customers differently. And that even includes flower growers. Stay tuned. I'm here today talking with Emily Lynn, and we're going to be discussing her business and how she identifies the different types of customers. Welcome to our studio here at the Covation Center today.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Now, if you don't mind, just tell us a little bit about your business and how you got into it.
Okay, so my business is called Long Lane Farm Flowers. I grow specialty cut flowers, which basically means anything that's not a rose, mum, or carnation. That
Peonies, I noticed we've seen those coming up.
Really in season right now. Things like dahlias, lots of things that maybe grew in your grandmother's garden that don't ship well. Local is definitely better. So there's kind of a movement back towards American grown. And I started about 4 years ago getting into this industry. I moved to a farm, had some time off, and little did I know it's a little more intense than I expected, but I love it. So I grow just seasonally in the field, about April through October. I all field grown, no tunnels at this time. I'm a nurse by training, and I've always gardened with my family, but not necessarily flowers and certainly not cut flowers. But I was inspired by a grower out west who is just growing cut flowers, and it kind of sparked my interest. And I'm the type of person who kind of dives in head first, and that's what I did. And it's sort of taken off in the last 4 years.
That's really awesome. And thanks to you, we've had a number of flower growers go through our master class and receive great benefit from the 10-week program that
Absolutely.
we offer. And we're really grateful to you for that.
Awesome.
One of the things that I learned from you, and of course from another 20 or so flower growers, is that there's not one customer out there. There are many different types. And in some of the conversations we've had, there's the guy who remembers the anniversary on the way home from work that day, right? So they run into the florist.
Right.
But there's also the people that go to the growers markets and some of the other types of customers. What customers do you really target, or do your products or your flowers actually appeal to the most?
So you're right, there's lots of different avenues you can take. There are people that focus more on weddings, events, like a florist, but they're called a farmer florist. They grow it, they design, and do everything. Then, like you said, the market customer who's going to the farmer's market wanting to grab a bouquet for a party that night or just their home for the week. And then farmers also sell directly to florists. So for me, I have basically the wholesale customer, my florists and event designers, and my retail customer. And then my retail customer kind of, diverges into a couple other segments, being my farm stand, which is generally, the guy forgets his anniversary and stops by to grab a quick bouquet. Same with, I sell to a local retail shop who sells that same way. And then I have CSA members, which is Community Supported Agriculture, which is also like a bouquet subscription. So that's more of a commitment. They sign up for 6 weeks in the summer. They sign up in the winter for summer. So it's more of a commitment. So that's a different type of customer as well for me than, say, the person that just, I forgot flowers, I need something for tonight, and grabs it. So
with that CSA then, it's a subscription and you have an obligation to them, so they move to the top of the list for you,
Absolutely.
Right?
They're definitely prioritized because they've committed to me in the winter. So the basis of a community supported agriculture is definitely more typically seen through vegetable farmers. You sort of buy your share in the winter, help the farmer who's not growing in the winter with the financial aspect, and then in the summer you reap the rewards of their product. So you kind of go through the season with them. If they have a crop failure, say carrots or what have you, or I have a crop failure of zinnias or whatever I'm growing, you may not get those, but you still will get top of the line product. So it's just more of a different way to connect, I guess, with the customer, because they can go through your ups and downs a little bit and follow your story a little bit better. It's just a different relationship. I've found.
So for that customer, if you don't mind, I'll just dig in a little bit
Yeah.
here. For a CSA customer, is there a certain type? I mean, do they tend to be younger 30-somethings, or do they tend to be in the 60s retirees? Or?
I would say most of them, I would say 95% of them are women, maybe more than 95%, over 40, over 50, most of them actually, I would say. Women who are just, they love flowers, they're into gardening themselves, and just have kind of followed my story and loved what I do, I guess, is what I've found.
Now, you talk about you said April to October, is that the range? What do you do for your business in the fall and winter? Is there something else you do, or do you just focus on CSA, or just plan out the next year?
It's a lot of planning. There's a ton of behind the scenes as far as spreadsheets for crop planning. And I mean, I'm starting, for instance, I just bought seeds yesterday for crops that I will plant, I'll seed in July, that I'll plant out in September, October to start to grow, and they'll overwinter until they start growing in March. So I almost have something planted inside or outside all year round. Most things will start in January if they don't start in the fall. So, excuse me. So it is obviously not as intense as it is in the growing season, but I'm definitely growing all year.
Do you have any customers that want to be more hands-on? And what do you do for those customers?
I have had lots of people ask about volunteering, and I like the idea of it. I just haven't, to be honest, I feel like I'm not organized enough to have volunteers come over and have, a set, exactly what they need to do. I'm still trying to come up with, that's my goal moving forward right now, is creating better systems, not necessarily for volunteers, but even just for the few part-time staff members that I have. Just creating better systems so that one of the ideas, and I forgot, actually it might have been Jenny Love, I got an idea for a digital whiteboard. So it's basically a Google Sheets document that each week, because we really grow by week, like things need planted, weeks of the year, week 23 or whatever we're in right now. So the tab on the bottom would be the week, and then at the top it would have whoever's initials, the task that needs done, the duration, how long it should take, details of the task, and then of course they can contact me if I'm on the farm, but if they have any information. But it helps, it's been helping me to help my staff be a little more independent so that I don't have to be at every single, task that needs done, because that's not really helping me in the long run.
Yeah. So you look at this and you say, okay, I need to satisfy different customers throughout the year, and you can bring other people in that have skill sets that can help you augment that in the busier times versus the slower times.
Exactly. Yep.
Now I'm trying to remember, and so this is going to probably end up in the cutting room floor virtually, I guess.
Yeah.
In the winter, do you do any classes or anything for people who would like to learn a bit more about how to do things?
I haven't done any like gardening type courses, but last year was my first year doing the wreath workshops. So that was more holiday focused, but it was a huge hit, and it kind of, I don't have any desire to necessarily go into weddings at this point, but I really loved doing the workshops. So I'm pursuing creating other workshops, and I've had lots of people reach out interested in it. So more fresh flower workshops, continue with the wreaths in the holiday season too, but do some fresh flower workshops. And I'd love to even partner with like a local chef and do maybe like a bloom and brunch or something fun where there's brunch, and then we create a, just a really relaxed atmosphere, but create a little arrangement, and they can, have friends, and I think it would be a really fun experience on the farm.
So for the wreath workshops, were they pretty much the same customers that do your CSAs and at the growers market, or did you see that as a different type of customer and a different product?
I actually felt like it was a different type of customer. There were a few that were CSA members, but I think COVID had a lot to do with this, but people were just craving these experiences and getting out and doing something different. Most of them came with a friend or a family member and made it, several of them said this is going to be like a new family tradition or something fun. So I felt like it was a different segment of client.
Okay. Yeah, so what I'm hearing and what I like when I talk to businesses like you and your business is that you have these different avenues, these different products and services, and I think workshops is kind of that blending. You have a product, you're giving them things to make a wreath, but then you're teaching them how to do it so that they get a skill as they go. And ideally, if they've learned it, they're going to come back to you for the materials to do it themselves further on, and you can still continue offering classes to others.
Right.
So that's a really great opportunity, and I hear you breaking apart your customers into segments. How do you go about deciding price when you look at these things?
Pricing for flowers, there's kind of a recipe that florists use. Of course, they're getting in wholesale flowers.
It's the Boston market or something,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good job.
To me, that should be chicken and roast and ham with mashed potatoes at Boston markets.
That's funny you knew that. So I guess all those flower farmers filled you in on that.
I can learn.
I do use that a lot. And then other local wholesalers, Dillon's is one in Williamsport. There's a few others I kind of base prices on. But again, they're getting a lot of flowers in from South America. They're not going to last as long. May not, be as unique of a product, something that they can't get in. So I definitely start with those baseline wholesale prices, but I feel that if my product warrants, quality-wise, a bit higher, I can usually fetch a higher price than a wholesaler would per stem based on the quality.
So you talk to your customer, whether it's a wholesale customer or a retailer like me coming off the street, you talk about the longevity of fresh cut versus shipped versus any other way?
Yeah, I try to. I think that's definitely, pricing is definitely that's where there's a big difference with the wholesaler and, as far as me, the wholesale customer and the retail customer. So my wholesale customer understands the floral pricing, and they understand that if I ask a little bit higher of a price for my dahlias versus the imported dahlias, they're going to pay it because I've had them say to me straightforward that they can probably use 50% of what they get wholesale, but when they get my dahlias, they can use every stem because they're fresh. So they're willing to pay a premium price. It's a little bit more difficult, I've found, and I've really been lucky. I've heard a lot of other farmers, and it depends on where they live, but have maybe a little pushback on some pricing because they feel, a lot of people think farm flowers, that's cheaper. But in reality, that's not the case. But I've not really had anyone push back on my pricing, but I do find it a little more difficult to discuss pricing with the retail customer, just because it's the wholesale, they're in the industry, they kind of understand that concept. But maybe I've explained it better than I thought because I haven't had much pushback about it. And I do try, especially in my social media, I try to explain things so that, they understand why I am pricing the way I am, the longevity, the uniqueness of what I'm growing, how long it's taken to get here. Some of the seeds that I plant in the late summer won't bloom until next spring or summer. So that's a long time to keep something alive and all the labor that goes into it and whatnot. So there's lots of little details like that, I guess, that go into the pricing as well.
And you mentioned your social media, and I will say, you talk about seeds planted. I think you do a great job planting seeds in your social media world. I've seen a lot of your Instagram posts and the dahlias and the peonies I'm seeing right now, just gorgeous, large blossoms. And I noticed, because I read the comments from people, and they comment on your posts, and I've noticed that your customers, the ones we're talking about today, that are following you on social media, are very much involved in your story. So when you said you had to step back, and I can repeat this because it was on your social media, when you said you had to step back for yourself for a little bit, your customers were there, and your customers were part of your story because they see you as part of their story. And
absolutely.
I want to commend you for your reach there.
I appreciate that. I was just talking to my dad about this. Like, I don't share, I try not to overshare, but I find it important to share enough with your customers so that they see the person behind the business. It's not just, pretty flowers. There's me, and I'm a person, and I have, just as messy of a life as everybody else does. So I think I do find that really important, and I notice people interacting more when I am a little bit more open, I guess, about, the reality of life, whether it be a business owner or just personal life or whatnot. So,
and I think it overcomes a lot of that pushback that you were talking about. Oh, you're a local farmer, it should be cheaper. Well, no, here's everything that goes into it. Here's all the care and concern, and you're highlighting that. And oh, by the way, I'm a person too, and I have a dog that helps me.
Right.
I'm gonna pay attention.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So,
everybody's very invested in Dougie right now. I love it. Warms my heart.
yeah. So.
Yeah.
If somebody watching this wants to follow you on social media, where do they find you, and then how do they learn more about your business?
So I'm on Facebook and Instagram. Both are under Long Lane Farm Flowers. That's probably the best way to get in contact with me as well. You can email me through our website. The website is www.longlanefarmflowers.com.
I see a theme here.
I have all my contact information on there. People have recently started asking for my phone number, and I'm willing to give that, but I'm just so many places right now out in the field, and I don't have great service. So
well, I think the best place right here is to find you at longlanefarmflowers.com.
Yep.
And find you on Instagram and Facebook.
Yep. That's perfect.
Oh, great. Well, thank you so much for taking the time, and
Absolutely.
Wishing you all the best for the rest of this season and this week as you get ready for next year.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.